Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank my colleague, Mr. Barrett, for his thorough review and rationale as to why he personally has concerns with limiting the ability of this committee to do its important work. And at first blush, I really don't need time to review the content of my colleague, Mr. Green's motion, because I'm certainly not in favor of that. We have to take a step back from time to time and remind ourselves why we're here. And we're here because Canadians in our constituencies voted to put us here, to be their voice, to do the necessary work, not only within our communities, but also here in the nation's capital. And we're all privileged to be on this particular committee, one of the most important committees that government operations have, because we are in the position to study the actions of others and to determine whether or not laws have been broken. And Canadians expect us to do the work year-round. They certainly understand the necessity of having personal time with our families. And when you take a look at the actual parliamentary calendar, we have an abundant amount of time to spend not only with our families, but with our constituents. In fact, it's a running sort of point of contention between myself and my spouse, who quite often is supportive of the work that I do here on the Hill, but misses the old Larry Brock, where although he could be busy throughout the day in courts, you miss him too? Thank you. She and my children had comfort in knowing that I would return to the house in the evening and wake up in the house in the morning. It is a difficult task being a parliamentarian, and we probably all have similar stories with our respective families. It's an ebb and it's a flow, and there are good times and there are bad times, but ultimately the job entails us to be away at significant points of time. But when you look at the entire calendar, and this is how I justify it to my spouse, quite often goes in one ear and out the other, but I think she listens to it and understands the rationale. I'm actually working here in Ottawa less than I was actually inside a courtroom. We have a very generous summer break. We have an extremely generous Christmas break. We are off at Thanksgiving. We are off at March break, often 2 weeks at a time. We are off during the May holidays. So when you take a look at the actual amount of time we are here doing the work of parliamentarians, it really begs the question that the Canadians don't have that same sort of privileges that we have. They're working largely through the entire year, and depending on the nature of their employment, they might be able to secure 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks of summer holidays throughout the entire year, the usual statutory holidays throughout the year. Parliamentarians are different. So when I take a look at the nature of this motion, what message am I communicating with my constituents that my 2.5 months of summer vacation is more important to me and to my family than doing the work of parliamentarians here in Ottawa, particularly when we've got dark clouds of unethical, scandalous, and corrupt behavior by this government. There was a point in time in the last 6 or 7 months where I often remarked, pretty much every other week or so, another scandal erupts from this government. But lately, it's almost on a daily basis. There are nuances that are coming out of scandals that we have been studying in numerous committees. And I just read a recent report in one of the nationals that made the conclusion, or drew the conclusion that I totally agree with, that unfortunately this is just the tip of the iceberg at the level of this corruption in the Justin Trudeau government. So I can well imagine, without even taking a straw poll of constituents in my riding, if I said my 2.5 months trumps the purpose by which you sent me to Ottawa, they would be appalled at that. And I think as adults and as parliamentarians, we can talk and walk, we can chew and walk, chew gum and walk at the same time, is what I'm trying to say. We can spend the quality time that we need with our families. We can spend the quality time that we need in our constituencies, but we can come back from time to time to do the important work of this committee to get to the bottom of these scandals. I'm not saying that we're going to complete this, Mr. Chair, by the end of the summer, but by completely shutting off our ability to conduct work unless it's an emergency under 106.4, I think misses the point.